What if the soft click of your front door at midnight was the first note in a nightmare symphony? Would you recognize the danger before the final chord struck? Houston's summer air still clings to the sidewalks when a 12-year-old slips out for a harmless walk, crossing paths with two strangers who promised directions but delivered darkness. In the span of a few grainy camera frames, a quiet bayou becomes a crime scene, a city becomes a headline, and an entire nation demands to know how it could happen. Will you be able to follow every breadcrumb of that night, or will one crucial clue stay hidden in the shadows?
Welcome to CrimeByte.
In this channel, we peel back the layers of those hidden realities, raw evidence, conflicting testimonies, and emotional pleas for help that too often come too late. By looking into these crime bites, you'll see firsthand how broken trust, systemic oversights, and chilling motives can converge into stories that rattle us to the core. If you find this exploration as vital as we do, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notifications button. Together, we can shine a light on the cases that demand attention, ensuring every voice, especially the silenced, finds the audience it deserves. At 10:04 p.m. on June 16, 2024, 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungaray eased open her apartment door on Northborough Drive, careful not to wake her grandparents. The sticky Houston heat wrapped her like a blanket as she slipped outside. Shorts, t-shirt, no phone, just the restless energy of a summer night. White Oak Bayou, just 3 blocks away, murmured beneath its graffiti-spattered bridge, a place teens whispered about but rarely visited after dark. Jocelyn's friends would later say she loved night walks, that she felt safest when the world was quiet. Yet every shadow that night belonged to strangers. 2 young men, Johan Martínez-Rangel and Peña Ramos, had spent the evening drinking micheladas at a taqueria, mapping shortcuts to their new apartment. They had crossed the U.S.-Mexico line only months earlier, chased by poverty and rumors of easy work. Houston's sprawl offered anonymity. The night offered opportunity. Surveillance footage would later show the men lingering outside the restaurant, pointing north, as if looking for directions, or a target. Jocelyn crossed their path at Kuykendall Road. She paused when they spoke, perhaps flattered by attention from adults. She could not know that both men carried personal histories scribbled on ice paperwork, released on recognizance, notice to appear. Nor could she sense the storm their encounter would unleash, one that would reach the steps of Congress and resound in presidential debate halls. Will a single midnight question, which way is Northborough, become the first domino in a tragedy no one can rewind? Security cameras at the All-Stop Market timestamp 10:22 p.m. The clip shows Jocelyn holding the door while the 2 men shuffle inside. She buys nothing. They grab tall boys of Modelo. Cashier Miguel Soto would later testify that the girl looked nervous but polite, glancing back at the door as though weighing her exit. The trio exits after 4 minutes, walking east, away from Jocelyn's apartment, toward the dark underbelly of East Montgomery Bridge. Outside, Johan produces a phone, perhaps showing Jocelyn a map. Franklin keeps scanning traffic. Prosecutors will argue this detour proves premeditation. Lure, isolate, control. Defense attorneys will claim the men were simply lost. Yet cell tower pings later plot a clean line from the taqueria to the store to the bridge. No zigzags, no hesitation. Neighbors recall hearing muffled laughter near the bayou around 11 p.m. They assumed teens were partying by the water. No one dialed 911. Houston nights carry countless such sounds. Under the bridge, the men reportedly tied Jocelyn's shoelaces together like a game, according to leaked court documents. But when she tried to run, the game turned lethal. At what precise moment does a misplaced trust curdle into fight-or-flight terror? And who decides when the laughter stops? Court filings paint a harrowing 2-hour timeline. Around 11:15 p.m., the men allegedly bound Jocelyn's wrists with a discarded phone charger, stripped her jeans, and took turns assaulting her. She fought. Scratch marks later found on Johan's arms, bite wounds on Franklin's shoulder. When a passing freight train thundered overhead, they tightened their grip. Autopsy notes list petechial hemorrhages, tiny blood spots in Jocelyn's eyes, classic signs of strangulation. Prosecutors say Johan looped a power cord twice around her neck, while Franklin pinned her legs. The bayou's reedy banks became a witness none could cross-examine, At 1:07 a.m., according to surveillance on a nearby self-storage facility, two silhouettes emerged, one carrying something heavy. A splash echoed. The creek swallowed its secret. The men vanished into an unlit walking trail, their faces blurred on the last camera angle. Jocelyn's body drifted until dawn wedged it against a culvert, half submerged, eyes still open. If bayou water could speak, what story would it shout to the sleeping city before first responders arrive? At 6:15 a.m., jogger Alicia Nguyen dialed 911 after spotting what looked like a mannequin in knee-deep water. Officers rolled crime scene tape as sunrise painted the cloud deck cotton candy pink, an obscene contrast to the gray pallor of Jocelyn's skin. Detective Marisol Guerra knelt, noting ligature marks and a muddy shoe still tied together by its own lace. Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences confirmed death by strangulation. Sexual assault kits returned DNA within 48 hours. HPD released blurred stills of two persons of interest, yanking social media into frenzy. Tips poured in, one from a construction foreman who recognized Franklin's tattoo, La Familia inked across a forearm. From a Telemundo broadcast, local radio cut regular programming. By noon, conservative commentators labeled the suspects Biden migrants, tying the murder to national border policy. Liberals urged restraint, warning against blanket blame. The city braced for a political firestorm even as yellow roses piled beside the bridge. Can a grieving community parse facts from fury when a child's face becomes a talking point within hours of discovery? HPD Homicide Sergeant J.T. Ford traced the men to Canfield Lake's apartments on June 20th, 4 days after the killing. SWAT stormed Unit 302 at dawn. Johan was found hiding under a mattress. Franklin sat on the couch, arm bandaged with gauze and duct tape. Officers photographed scratches before Miranda warnings. Both men answered in broken English, requesting Spanish translators. Booking photos splashed across national networks. Two gaunt faces, eyes red-rimmed, cheeks dotted with insect bites from canal reeds. Magistrate Judge Hilary Ung set bail at $10 million each after Assistant District Attorney Ryan Trask detailed the crime. Johan allegedly confessed to tying Jocelyn's legs and ordering Franklin to throw her into the creek. Franklin admitted kissing the victim, but blamed Johan for the killing. ICE placed immigration detainers. Governor Greg Abbott tweeted demanding the death penalty. Houston's mayor echoed the call. Civil rights groups warned against inflaming xenophobia, noting due process rights. But photos of Jocelyn's memorial, her favorite stuffed sloth perched atop candles, drowned nuance in raw grief. When handcuffs snap shut, does justice truly begin? Or does the real battle shift from streets to courtroom arenas and cable news sets? Within a week, presidential hopefuls folded Jocelyn's name into immigration stump speeches. Senator Ted Cruz announced the Justice for Jocelyn Act, mandatory detention for undocumented migrants charged with violent crimes. Late Governor Dan Patrick drafted Jocelyn's Law, banning bail for capital murder defendants. Commentators compared the case to Georgia nursing student Laken Riley's murder months earlier, framing both as border blood. Progressive outlets pushed back, highlighting child safety gaps closer to home. Unsecured apartment gates, poor street lighting, lack of late-night youth programs. Jocelyn, they argued, fell through multiple nets, not just immigration policy. Hashtags Justice for Jocelyn and Fix the Border trended simultaneously, each tribe casting the other as villain. Behind the noise, prosecutors worked. A September grand jury hearing added kidnapping and aggravated sexual assault charges, opening the door to capital punishment under Texas law, despite Jocelyn being over 10. District Attorney Kim Ogg filed official death penalty notice in December, calling the crime the apex of cruelty. In the echo chamber of politics, can a child's humanity survive the tug-of-war of agendas? Lead crime scene investigator Victor Leon treated the East Montgomery Bridge like an outdoor laboratory. He began at the water's edge, sifting bayou silt through a stainless steel mesh. Under magnification, he spotted angular quartz grains laced with a rare bluish feldspar, a mineral signature present in only one short stretch of the bayou bank. Days later, that same feldspar dust surfaced in the tread of Johan Martínez-Rangel's knockoff Adidas, wedged so deep it survived 2 showers and a hurried scrub with hotel soap. 15 paces north of the splash zone, Leon discovered a partial tire imprint in damp clay. CAD software overlaid the pattern with the wear diagram on Franklin Peña Ramos's steel-toe work boots, highlighting a distinctive crescent gouge where a missing lug had sheared off months earlier. Defense experts would later concede the match was highly persuasive. Digital forensics delivered an even sharper blade. Tech analyst Charlie Ng pulled a supposedly factory reset Samsung from Johan's locker. Deep-level recovery unearthed a Snapchat cache, one 7-second clip, corrupted but salvageable. Frame-by-frame enhancement revealed Johan grinning into the camera, neon graffiti behind him, and just over his left shoulder, the unmistakable swish of Jocelyn's ponytail, swinging as though she were turning away. The metadata? June 17th, 11:48 p.m., 23 minutes before the estimated time of death. Defense counsel pounced on procedure. They alleged chain of custody gaps, mistranslations during Miranda advisements, and cultural misunderstandings that tainted consent for phone searches. They presented childhood records. Johan's IQ listed at 72, Franklin's at 76, arguing borderline cognitive deficits impaired their judgment. Prosecutors fired back. Surveillance showed both men navigating 3 bus transfers, completing cell phone plan paperwork, and most damning, manually deleting media files mere hours after the murder. These aren't helpless children, ADA Ryan Trask told reporters. They know how to erase evidence. They know how to kill. In the war room, trial consultants assembled a sensory onslaught for jurors. DNA heat maps pulsing red where skin cells latched onto power cord ligatures. Superimposed bite mark overlays aligning Franklin's dental x-rays with bruises on Jocelyn's forearm. A 911 audio montage blended with a haunting lullaby track, ending on the dispatcher's flat. Unit clear, we have a juvenile deceased. True crime podcasts erupted. Some hosts praised Leon's microscope to metadata brilliance, urging listeners to trust the science. Others warned of lab coat theatrics, reminding audiences of wrongful conviction documentaries where juries were swayed by charts, not certainty. Will forensic granularity cut through the fog of outrage, or will the jury's collective heartbeat drown out every calibrated measurement once the evidence glows on the courtroom screen? February 2025, Harris County Criminal Court. Media rigs formed a steel forest outside. Inside, Jocelyn's mother clutched a prayer card. Johan's sister waved from the gallery, mouthing "Te quiero" as deputies let him in. Prosecutors opened with a blurry still of Jocelyn under the street lamp. Last image alive. Gasps rippled. Key witness Miguel Soto, the convenience store clerk, described Jocelyn's uneasy smile. Defense cross-examined, "Can nervousness equal consent to a company?" The gallery hissed. Judge Lena Kirby hammered the gavel, warning of contempt. For 6 days, experts parsed ligature patterns, and a pediatric pathologist broke down internal neck bruising. Several jurors wiped tears. One asked to be excused, citing migraines, widely assumed to be emotional overload. Closing arguments painted stark worlds. The state's realm of predatory migrants exploiting visa freeways versus the defense's narrative of confused young men misreading cultural boundaries until panic set loose fatal force. The jury retired under instructions running 42 pages. When a verdict can tilt immigration policy and ignite street protests, can 12 ordinary citizens hear only the evidence before them? By the time the jurors re-entered courtroom 11B on a humid April afternoon, every seat in the gallery was occupied. Press badges jangling, prayer beads clicking, sweat darkening paper programs. The foreperson, Denise Hargrove, clutched the verdict envelope like it might combust in her palm. When she spoke, her voice was steady, precise. "We, the jury, find the defendants guilty of capital murder, aggravated kidnapping, and aggravated sexual assault." For a single suspended heartbeat, silence hung, then cracked. Jocelyn's mother collapsed into her husband's arms, sobbing guttural relief. A cousin shouted, "Thank God," before marshals barked for decorum. From the defense table, Johan Martínez-Rangel stared blankly ahead. Franklin Peña Ramos whispered a single word, "Mama." Reporters' keyboards clattered like hail. Texas law requires a separate penalty phase for capital convictions, and it unfolded like a second emotionally flayed trial. Prosecutors opened with a 3-minute montage. Jocelyn in ballet slippers, executing cartwheels in a faded Astros t-shirt, giggling through missing baby teeth. Half the jury openly wept. One requested a brief recess to compose herself. The defense countered with Dr. Alejandra Zamora, a neuropsychologist who testified that both men grew up amid Venezuelan blackouts, cartel crossfire, and chronic malnutrition, lives starved of oxygen and opportunity. She cited IQ scores in the low 70s, frontal lobe deficits, and PTSD. But prosecutors drilled home digital sophistication, bus route mastery, encrypted chat apps, calculated media deletion. Adaptive cunning, they insisted, not intellectual handicap. After 3 more hours behind closed doors, jurors filed back. The clerk asked whether they had reached a unanimous sentencing decision. Denise Hargrove's red-rimmed eyes brimmed anew as she read, "We sentence the defendants to death by lethal injection." Gasps, prayers, scattered cheers, an orchestra of conflicting catharses filled the room. Governor Greg Abbott tweeted within minutes, "Justice delivered. Texas will always defend its children." Human rights NGOs blasted the sentence as xenophobic theater. The Venezuelan government lodged a diplomatic protest, demanding full consular access and hinting at violations under the Vienna Convention. A State Department spokesperson replied that due process had been scrupulously observed. Defense teams filed notices of appeal before the ink on judgment pages dried, signaling forthcoming arguments over intellectual disability exemptions and alleged Brady violations tied to undisclosed cell phone tower data. Yet for many Texans, the moral ledger closed the moment bailiffs clasped ankle chains and guided the condemned through a side exit toward the transport van waiting to ferry them to Polunsky Unit's death row. Night fell, thick with Gulf moisture. Outside the courthouse, mourners and strangers gathered in an impromptu vigil. Hundreds of teal balloons, Jocelyn's favorite color, drifted skyward, their ribbons catching courthouse floodlights like comet tails. A choir of her middle school classmates formed an uneven semicircle and haltingly sang "You Are My Sunshine." Voices cracked on the high notes. Some children shielded their faces behind sheet music, tears glittering beneath cell phone flashes. Television cameras rolled, capturing grief transmuted into ritual. A city's attempt to cauterize a wound while knowing the scar would always burn. Commentators spoke of closure. Parents in the crowd spoke of vigilance. Somewhere beyond the lights, the bayou where Jocelyn took her last breath gurgled on, indifferent. Does a stamped verdict truly close the chapter? Or does every looming appeal rehearse pain until memory transforms into both monument and millstone? Today, East Montgomery Bridge bears a bronze plaque. In loving memory of Jocelyn Nungaray, 2011-2024. Let every child walk in safety. Motion sensor lights now flood its underside. HPD patrols hourly. Jocelyn's law, denying bail for capital murder defendants, passed Texas legislature by wide margin. Cruz's federal bill imposing harsher migrant screening standards still grinds through committees, its fate tangled in partisan knots. Yet families still slip flyers for missing teens under windshield wipers. White Oak Bayou still snakes unseen behind apartment blocks where kids chase fireflies past dusk. And every June 16th, neighbors float teal lanterns downstream, each carrying a promise whispered to the dark water. We will watch. We will warn. We will not forget. Parents now hold tighter hands on evening walks. Some see every unfamiliar accent as threat. Others attend safety workshops, wary but not hardened. Jocelyn's face, once just a grin in a school yearbook, has etched itself into Houston's collective conscience. A reminder that evil can wear casual shoes and ask for directions with a smile. Will vigilance born of tragedy protect the next wandering child? Or will complacency seep back like bayou water reclaiming its quiet banks? We followed every agonizing step of Jocelyn Nungaray's final night. Security camera breadcrumbs, bayou whispers, courtroom echoes. But her story can't end with a verdict. It has to live on as a warning and a call for change. That next step starts with us. Join the conversation. Do current background check and detention policies go far enough? How can neighborhoods build real safety nets for kids who slip out after dark? What concrete changes would you push for in your own city tonight? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your insight could spark the next life-saving idea. If this case opened your eyes, let the algorithm know. Smash that like button. Become part of our justice-seeking community. Hit subscribe right now. And for first alerts on our next deep look, tap the notification bell so YouTube pings you the second a new episode drops. Thank you for watching and for standing guard with us. Until the next case, Stay aware, stay relentless, and keep demanding answers. Fade to black.